Hello everybody, my name is Sasha Novak. Welcome to my channel. This is part 2 of my journaling album tutorial, and in this part we will work on the inside right side of the album. I will show you how I decorate the flaps step by step. I am also speeding most of this video up, otherwise it would be around 4 hours long, but I will explain everything as I go. So inside, I've already pre-cut scrapbook paper and cards that will go on these flaps, but don't worry, I will tell you dimensions and all the details as we go. So we're gonna start working on the left side of the album and move on to the right side once the left side is completed. I am doing this because when I add paper and decor on each flap, it will add more volume, and I'll need to know how much room I'll have left to work with on the right side. But we'll talk about this later as well. Now on these flaps here, and I am calling them flaps because I'm not sure if they have a specific name. Help me out if they do. But on these flaps, we're gonna have a mix of cards, pockets for tags, and places for photos. I've already pre-cut all my pieces, and they are all 7.2 by 9.8 centimeters, and I am working with centimeters. If you guys prefer inches, you can just measure them out yourself, or I will try to list everything down in the description. The one I'm holding right now is the one for inserting the photos. I added 4 craft photo corners and stitching around the borders. I will be adding border stitching to all of the pieces. This step is decorative, so if you don't have a sewing machine, you can skip that part, or you can use a pen or a marker and draw that in. Next, I pre-cut 4 pieces of scrapbook paper, and I used the striped pattern from the Twilight collection. So the smaller ones will go on the sides, and the frame piece will go behind these flaps here. I wrote down the sizes of each piece on the album, and I will also try to write it down in the description as well. The sizing of the frame piece was kind of tricky because of these flaps. So the top, bottom, and the right side turned out to be 0.7 centimeters thick, and the left side is only 0.5 centimeters thick. I would suggest checking if these dimensions work for your album, and if not, adjust the sizing as needed. Now I'm just going to adhere these pieces to the album. I completely forgot to wrinkle up the edges of my papers before adhering them to the album, but that's okay because I can do it right now. If you decide to make this album after watching my tutorial, try not to do the same mistake I did. If you don't want your edges wrinkled up, you don't have to do it. It is a completely optional step, just like border stitching. I am usually wrinkling and tearing the edges of my papers using scissors, and I do it to probably all my vintage projects. And I want this to be a vintage album since Twilight collection is more. We can now move on to decorating the flaps, and I already developed a pattern on how they're gonna alternate between cards, photos, and pockets for tags. So first flap is going to be a card with another card in the back of it. Next is going to be a photo with a tag pocket on the back. Next is going to be a photo with a photo on the back. And then the pattern starts again with a card and the card in the back. And it's just going to go like this until the end. So we're going to need a total of 12 photo inserts, 8 cards, and 4 tag pockets. These 4 cards I am holding are going to go on the front side of the flap, and I'm planning to add some decor on them later. These 4 will go on the back side, and I already did a border stitching on them. I didn't do a border stitching on these ones that will go on the front because I'm not sure how I'm going to decorate them yet, so I will add stitching at the time when I'm decorating. And these last 4 cards I chose for the pockets. Almost all of my cards are from Twilight collection, only a few came from Luna, and I used paper sheet from Luna for all the photo inserts. Now I think I'm going to adhere these 4 cards that will go in the back, since I'm not planning to add anything else to them, and then we're gonna work on these photo inserts. I'm going to work on these photo inserts really quick. I'm just going to add a stamp with a camera in the middle and wrinkle up the edges before adhering them to the album. We are going to work on the pockets for tags now. I already made 3 of them, and I will show you how to make the last one. It's honestly super easy. So the card size is the same as rest of them. It's 7.2 by 9.8 centimeters. And to make this little triangle up at the top, I basically found the middle at the top and went down about 1.5 centimeters, drew a line, and then I went about 1 centimeter to left and right from the top middle and formed a triangle. Now I'm just gonna take out my scissors and cut out the triangle just like so, and I'm just gonna round up these corners over here as well. Next, I'm gonna wrinkle up the edges and tell you the next steps. So next, I'm just gonna need 3 pieces of craft paper. They are the same lengths as the sides of the card, but just a tiny bit shorter, about 1 millimeter, and they are about 3 centimeters wide. So I'm just going to score all 3 of them with 2 lines, first one at 1/2 inch and second one right next to it. And now I'm just flattening them out a little bit, and I'm gonna cut off the corners of each at about 45 degrees. That should make it easier to glue those pieces onto the card. Lastly, I added border stitching to my pocket, and they are all ready to be glued onto the album. getting closer to the fun part of decorating, I placed some tags here from the tag pad in the pockets to see if they fit, and they fit perfectly. I'm going to start from the very end first because this is where my tie will go. So I decided to use this leftover piece from the frame I cut out in the beginning, and let me just take out my ruler and measure it out for you. So it is about 7.4 by 10.1 centimeters in case you choose to place a different paper piece here. And I want to use a lace on top to make a small pocket out of it. But before I stitch that lace piece to the paper, I want to add kind of like a strap to it, and I'm gonna use one of the wider ribbons for that. And I'm also gonna need an eyelet and a crocodile as well for that. Here is a tie I was talking about. I spelled out a word haunted on it using the beads I showed you in my last video. So the tie will be hooked on to the strap, and it will tie into something like a button on the very first flap. So I added border stitching onto my lace and the strap, and I added it to the strap on purpose because it will add additional security to the strap and it won't fall off when we pull on the tie. I am going to glue this piece on now and move on to decorating. I will have the music on almost through the entire process, and I will chime in a few times to explain a couple of important things. Decorating is pretty much self-explanatory process, and I don't think that I need to explain all of it, but if you have any questions, you can always ask in the comments. I will be happy to answer. putting a thin layer of hot glue on the back of the screw. I'm doing so because it will be sitting right where the tie will go, and the tie can rip the paper when trying to open or close it up. Putting the glue on will make the papers sort of elastic, and it will save it from ripping. I will also be adding hot glue to the butterfly and the cat elements that I will be placing on the rest of the cards. to end this part of the tutorial right here. We're pretty much done with the left side except for some toppings and splashes, but we're gonna add those final touches at the very end. Thank you so much for watching this video until the end, and be on the lookout for the remaining parts in the upcoming weeks. Goodbye.